Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. Thank you for staying with us. Now, according to one reviewer, it is a play which, through the strength of its comedy and satire of society, also invites us to question and interrogate. That's the Baxter's latest production titled Tartuffe, which has been described as an uneasy story with a potent message at its core, and is directed by award-winning Sylvaine Strike. To tell us more about this French classic, I'm joined in studio by Craig Morris, and he's going to talk to us about playing the lead character Tartuffe. Craig, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Before we touch on that, I also, just in our intro, you also played a character which got nothing to do with this, called Johnny Boskak is Feeling Funny.
Yeah, it's a one-man show that I've been performing for the last couple of years. It's received great accolades. And that's the name of the character, Johnny Boskak. He plays this white guy who went through conscription into the army, survived, got spat out on the other side of that experience, and travels around South Africa as damaged goods, trying to find redemption for all the things he's done. So
I don't want to smile. It just sounds funny. Talk to me about playing Tartuffe and this French classic, because I'm not familiar with it, and I don't know how many other South Africans are familiar, although it's a very famous piece of work.
Yeah, so it was penned in 1664 by Molière, and he historically is very well known for his satire. He wrote very scathing satirical plays which commented on the powers that be in France at the time. But as is the sign of any great classic, his work is still relevant today, because it speaks to the same themes of corruption, deception, how people in power and the things that they do to retain and keep power. So when he originally wrote the play, it was heavily censored. He had death threats against him. He was imprisoned because he was touching on very raw nerves for those people in power. At that time, it was predominantly people in church. But like I said, the play today still speaks very strongly to those same themes about, the lengths people will go to stay in power.
Craig, as a creative, as somebody who's, I don't know if creatives think in boxes these days. I've heard that there's no more boxes for creatives. But when you approach to do something like this, that was written so many years ago, you're living in a country at the moment where a lot of these issues are playing itself out.
Absolutely.
Do you sit there and you go, wow?
In a big way. We every day that we rehearse this production, there's a cast of 9 of us. We had opportunities to really go, well, we can't believe
the similarities,
the points. It's like every scene. It's a 5-act production. It runs for just under 2 hours, and every scene touches on things that you read in the paper or see on TV every day. So it really is, from the day we started rehearsing till now, with the production running for the next couple of months, we're just confronted daily by real events that are echoed and reflected in the play.
And I can only imagine that if you're a local audience, well, if you're an audience anywhere in the world actually watching Tartuffe, that you're going and you're saying, okay, that makes sense to me. I might not understand what Molière was saying back then, but that resonates with me now, because I'm finding myself currently in a situation like that.
Absolutely. And it's frightening, because it's written. It's a period piece. So the writing, it's a wonderful translation, by the way, by a guy called Richard Wilbur, an American, and he translated the original French into rhyming couplets. So the entire play is in rhyme. So it's quite beautifully written, but nevertheless, within that writing, there's all of these truths that keep on popping up, So it's going to be very impactful, a very powerful piece, and beautifully directed by Sylvaine.
I was going to ask you that now, because we've interviewed her a couple of times before. I want to, when you're as creative sitting around and you're talking an approach, does she come in and say, well, this is how I see it, or is that more of a collaboration between, and then where do you want to take the audience?
I think Sylvaine, she's a very strong director, so she did arrive with a very clear vision, both aesthetically, how the production's going to look, costume design, all of that stuff, but also in terms of how we as actors are going to play it. So she She had a very strong hand. She guided us, but in a very compassionate way as well, allowing us as performers to bring our own personal and individual interpretations to the technique that she was looking for. So, yeah, we really had a very strong sense of ensemble. All of us worked together, collaborated together on the final product, but under a very strong directorial hand.
The art of satire. How do you approach that? Because as a serious actor, you know, there's comedy in there.
I think it is like comedy. The thing about satire, comedy is not funny if you try to be funny.
Yeah.
You know, we spoke about this earlier. The comedian has to be absolutely serious about what they're doing, and within that lies the comedy. There's strong elements of clowning that we're bringing into the production to counterpoint the heaviness of the words. We've got very strong physical clowning for each of the characters.
So there's a lot of physical acting.
Absolutely, very physical. And I think that's where the satire lies. If we play to the satire, we're not going to get it. The satire is embedded in the story, in the writing. We just let that happen. We stay true to what we want to communicate in each of the scenes, and the satire naturally comes out.
Great. Please give our audience some details. When is it? Where can they get tickets? That kind of stuff.
Perfect. We open this coming week at the Baxter Theatre in Cape Town. We're there until the end of May. You can book at CompuTicket. Then we have a few performances in Durban towards the end of May, and then we're up here at the Joburg Theatre for the entire month of June before going to the National Arts Festival.
Perfect. So there's opportunity for us here in Johannesburg to see it. Yeah. I'm glad that you left us last. Okay. you need to go to Cape Town, but I'm glad that you came here. Craig Morris plays the character of Tartuffe. It is being directed by award-winning Sylvaine Strike, and as is mentioned, it opens at the Baxter next week. Go and get your tickets. It's an award-winning, the cast is award-winning, so go and check it out. We take an ad break. Don't go anywhere.